This is Dale Jr., and you're listening to Dirty Mo Radio.
Your dad called Karen, said, Dale's on the phone, and he said, Steve, I don't know which VHS player to buy. I don't want to get ripped off at the store. And Steve's like, you can get whatever one you want. Like, why are you worried about getting ripped off?
Dude, in your case, just pick the highest price one.
Right. Steve's like, you can afford any one you want.
Welcome to Kelley Earnhardt Miller's Fast Lane Family, presented by Wella Professionals. Salon care products that you can experience with your senses. Get high performance you can see, touch, and sense.
All right, welcome to this week's edition of Fast Lane Family. I have another wonderful guest with me today. Fox Sports reporter Danielle Trotta is here. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to catching up with her. We haven't had time to catch up quite lately.
I know.
And just finding out what's going on in your world and how all this came to be. And then later in the show, we will visit with our Wella professionals who will give us styling tips on creating loose waves in your hair. You got some loose waves going on today.
I could use a class, though.
I'm always
up for a refresher course.
They're looking pretty good. Getting used to someone fixing your hair, maybe. Is that
That's
it?
Right. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go back. We'll get to what's happening and where you are today. But you grew up in New York. I don't know where Westchester is. Where's Westchester?
It's right outside
Northern?
New York City.
So outside New York City.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just about 45 minutes north.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of in the heart of New York there.
Yeah, Mom and Dad are from New York City area, so a lot of my family was from in there, and then they kind of moved us out to the suburbs when I was little. But it was a nice, great place to be raised.
You moved around a lot? Did you
Yeah,
move around a lot as a kid?
I call it, because I'm in my 30s now, I call it the 10, 10, and 10 rule. So I spent my first 10 years in New York, my second 10 years in Indiana, and the last 10 years here. So that's like the easiest way.
So I wonder what the next 10 is going to hold for you.
Oh, gosh. I hope Charlotte's
You hope right here?
Yeah, because I love it.
You want to go to 10, 20, 20?
That's
10,
right.
20, 30, 10, 10?
10, 10, 50.
10, 10, 50? Yeah, exactly. So you also lived in Indiana?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What took you guys from New York to Indiana?
Dad's job.
Okay.
Yeah, just him moving around and kind of chasing his dream. And Mom was a nurse, so it was easy for her and the kids, me and my little sister, to kind of go where Dad's job took us.
So just the two of you and your little sister?
Yeah, just me and my little sister. And Indianapolis was another kind of great place to grow up and go to high school. And it's kind of where I started to get to know racing in my teens, and the Indianapolis 500 and the Brickyard and all that. So that was cool.
Were your parents into racing at all?
No, I mean in New York City, my dad didn't even have a car. Growing up,
What's racing?
His car was the Subway. So we had. It's just not. It's not really that popular up there.
Yeah.
It's more stick and ball, Yankees, Mets, Giants. So we didn't really have an appreciation for it until we moved to Indiana.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the heart of it.
Don't you find that very ironic, though, when you say that it's not popular in New York and the North, but so many of our fans are from those areas?
Yeah.
But New York is so big that's why I asked what area from New York, because you get up into northern New York, there's a lot, and kind of that southern, Yeah,
I think it's different, because once you start to get into, like, Rochester, and then you're into, like, Loudoun territory and Vermont and Maine, and so it's like it's and I've talked to Corey's dad, Randy LaJoy, and where I kind of grew up in Westchester was not far from where they grew up in Connecticut. So even in Connecticut, they start. I think short tracks were kind of big there. So there's little pockets and sectors, but in Manhattan, I think it's just different.
It doesn't mix there.
Yeah, no. But we're gonna get there.
Yeah. I mean, it's been quite some time ago, but any cool memories of living in New York and the city and that kind of thing compared to now?
Yeah, I mean, I think one memory I think that'll always stand out. My dad helped build the World Trade Centers in college.
Oh, wow.
That was like his summer job in between school years. And then when I knew that, he'd told us stories growing up, and one day my aunt was at work in the World Trade Center, and we took a limousine down, and we went to visit her for lunch. And I remember just getting out of the limousine. I was so little, and just looking up at the towers and
thinking just how big they were.
They were. And she came out, and she was in her 80s, pantsuit with her pumps and big old hair, but yeah, I mean, going to the city during Christmas time and seeing the Rockettes and the Nutcracker, and that's kind of what we did as a family. It was like a big thing to kind of all get dressed up and to go in the city. Yeah.
Do you go back there for that kind of thing?
Yeah, we were just back. My boyfriend and I went in December. He had never seen the Christmas tree all lit up, so he wanted to go do that. And I was like, all right, let's freeze our butt off and walk around the city for 3 days.
I only did that during the banquet times in New York from time to time. So I've never really been to New York just on pleasure.
Yeah.
For just kind of my own sightseeing.
Yeah.
So as a kid, teenager really, 15 and 16, and got to go tour around and see that. And we ice skated, and it was fun.
It is fun.
But I think we went to the Rockettes, maybe. Sometimes it's hard to remember if you confuse that from seeing it, just seeing everything, or if you actually did it. I don't know if I actually went to the Rockettes or if I'm just thinking that maybe I've seen all this stuff on TV, but we did not do any shows when we were there. But, yeah. We
went and saw Jersey Boys because I love the movie. And so we were like, let's get tickets. We'll do Jersey Boys, ice skate, see the tree, eat too much Italian food. And we were in and out. It was 3 days, but so I try to get up there once a year and see some friends. Yeah, we covered Fox covered Supercross last year too in Giant Stadium, which was really cool. So I got to host that event.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we stayed in Jersey, but it was the first time I'd been to the new stadium. So sometimes work takes you up there, like you said, going for the banquet.
Yeah. And you might get a little something in.
Right.
Yeah. But your primary reason is consumed with
But it's
work.
that way with New York and LA. Like, I want to be in and out.
Yeah.
I can't, it's too much for me if I stay. Yeah. Like, I could never live there. I think it's just a cool place to visit. Yeah. It's just too crowded. Like, you can't move.
Too much going on. And you couldn't have a car.
And you couldn't have a car.
Yeah. Can't have green grass.
I know. I love throwing stuff in the trunk and shopping for groceries. I'm a total suburb girl.
I couldn't believe I went there to visit a girl that she lived there, and then she worked for L'Oreal Drakkar, and so Dale was involved with Drakkar way back when, and she eventually moved down here to work for Junior Motorsports and raise her family down here. But I visited her and her husband, and they had 2 young kids at the time. Now they have 3 kids, and in their apartment, I don't know, 900 square feet.
Yeah.
They were living in with these 2 kids, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
Do it?
Yeah.
I know it.
She's like, I really want some green grass to raise my kids. I'm like, you need to come to North Carolina. And then when we were talking about pricing and stuff, she was telling me her budget for her house, and I'm like, girl, you can get a monstrosity of a house here in North Carolina for that kind of price. And she's like, really?
I know it. You'd be in the biggest house on the lake.
Yeah.
With all the toys, and I know it.
Whatever. I mean, what they paid for their 900 square feet apartment.
It's crazy.
I was like, man, you can get like a rockin' 4,000 square foot house
with some toys and cars, and I know,
and green grass.
I know, it's crazy.
Oh, so 2 things that I want to talk about from interesting swimming and diving first. So you were state champion, in those sports in high school. Yeah. How'd you get involved? Okay, so you were born in New York City.
I know, right? They don't have swimming pools either.
They don't have race
cars and swimming pools. There's not enough room. So in Indiana, we had a pool in the backyard with a diving board, and so I would just mess around from the time I was in the 5th grade, and I was in gymnastics, and it just kind of came naturally to me. And Dad always had me playing sports, so I think I'm just naturally athletic.
Yeah.
I never thought I was going to compete or anything. And then I was just messing around on the diving boards at the local high school in junior high, and they're like, you should try out for the team, you're good. And so it just kind of grew from there. And Mom and Dad said I had to work in high school if I didn't play a sport. So I was like, well, I'll play a sport because it's better than flipping burgers.
That's a neat rule.
Yeah.
I like that.
We at the time we won, we were on championships 9, 10, and 11 state titles, and that streak at Carmel High School is still going. I think they're up to like 24 consecutive state titles for the girls swimming and diving team. It's one of those
Any
things.
Olympians come out of there?
I should know that,
right?
Yeah, right. But I don't. I'm sure though.
It's a good fact-finding thing we should find out.
We should. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was fun.
I always love to watch the diving in the Olympics.
I do. Isn't it so great?
Yeah.
It's
really
impressive.
Cool.
I didn't have
swimming's
the guts
pretty cool
to,
too. I mean, swimming's cool. It's tough.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tyler Clary, who's an Olympian, he lives in Charlotte. A lot of them train here.
Yeah.
Michael Phelps is here.
Yep.
Tyler wanted to race, and Jimmy Johnson was helping him a little bit. So they met at the Aquatic Center downtown. So I kind of got to like watch how they train.
Oh, that's cool.
It's, incredible.
I've seen that, the Swim Max Center that they're working to build here at Langtree.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they were doing that.
And there's one of the coaches, David something, he's an Olympic coach, and they're talking about the swimmers and how in our area there's not enough facilities to train and to even for kids, and that's one of their goals is just to get the kids involved. And our area is pretty high in drownings, and kids don't know how to swim, so they're working with the public schools and going to partner to bring the kids in for swimming and stuff.
How interesting is that?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So pretty cool. You don't spend much time these days swimming?
I wish. I wish. I'm a fish. I could spend all day. I'm not like the ski girl, the mountain girl, and the let's go to the beach.
Beach girl.
Yeah, be in the pool all day. So we're saving up right now, me and the boyfriend. So we're going to try to get our first house. And I told him I don't care about anything else.
You want a pool?
It has to have a pool. Yeah, that's like number one. So I can swim in it all day.
So you can work on that.
Yeah.
So did you go to college for swimming? Or
no, I kind of gave it up after high school
Okay.
because I was like, all right, now I need to get serious into the TV thing because I always knew it was what I wanted to do. So I thought it'd be tough to kind of split up my time. My cousin was a swimmer at the University of Florida, and I saw the rigorous training. I mean, you just don't have a life.
Yeah.
You're in the pool at
any
5:30 in the
sport
morning.
like that, yeah.
Once you get to
And
the
once
collegiate level,
right? Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, in the SEC, it's like he couldn't. You know, you swim in the morning, you go to class all day, you eat, you get back in the pool, you do your homework, and you go to bed, and that just
then you
wasn't
get up and repeat.
right. And he got burnt out by junior year, and I just knew if it's not what you're going to do the rest of your life, like I just thought, okay, now it's time to kind of get focused.
Yeah.
So I went to UNC Charlotte.
I know, and before that, some other colleges. How
Yeah,
come
there
you
was
moved
4.
around so much?
Yeah, there was 4. I can't make up my mind.
I finished at Charlotte too, so
Yeah,
we have that in common.
Yeah, we both finished at Charlotte.
Yeah, I have that in common with you. And so you said that you wanted to do TV. When did you know that was something that you were really interested in?
Yeah, Dad was a big sports fan growing up, like big basketball, football. He was a basketball coach at at a local girls' high school, so he always had us playing sports. And so on weekends we would watch games together, and I would watch the pregame show. It was Hannah Storm and Bob Costas. It was the NBA on NBC, and I'm like, I just saw Hannah doing it one day, and I said, Dad, that's what I'm going to do. He's like, okay. So I think I was like 8 at the time, and so I just kind of knew.
Yeah.
Ever since then, that's what
And
I wanted
so
to do.
you at your high school, you did some reporting, news reporting.
I got really lucky. We had like a full 24-hour cable access, fully functioning TV station at our high school. So they said if you start as a freshman, by senior year you can intern at like a local TV station in Indianapolis. So I was like, all right, let's do that.
Definitely doing that.
But since the time I was 15, I had a camera in my hand and shooting stuff and interviewing people and putting stories together and covering sports. So yeah, it started like 15, 17 years ago, which is hard to believe.
So Caitlin, Vincey talked about that and talked about, doing her own videos and things like that, which she's younger than you, isn't she?
I know, I hate her.
I mean, she's way younger than me. I mean, you're younger than me, and then she's way younger than me. But where I was going with that is just kind of the social media and the internet presence, like back when you were doing that, you didn't have nowhere to put them. You didn't have nobody to show except your parents.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
come over, family, and watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had to, back in the day, I mean, you tried to like edit your little pieces you made onto a VHS tape, and then you sent the VHS tape by mail to like every news station in the country and tried to get your first job. I tell kids that now in school. They laugh. They're like, what are you talking about?
They're like, what's a VHS tape,
What's a
Miss
VHS?
Trotta?
Yeah. Even in 2005 when we were sending out DVDs. Like now it's like
they're ancient.
What is a YouTube channel? Like I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
That's how they all have links now. Like, I'll send you my link.
Yeah.
Boom, it's in your inbox in 2 seconds. It's crazy.
Oh, I see resumes that are digital, and interactive and not just on a piece of paper anymore.
People don't send you paper resumes anymore?
Well, I mean, they still do send some paper ones, but I have seen like digital.
Yeah.
It's crazy how
I need to work on that too. Then
creative
I don't
people
have
can
one of those.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. I'm big into photography and keeping my pictures, and I think about that in 20 years when I want to look back at my kids' pictures. How am I going to look at them?
Mm-hmm.
Is the process that we use today, because, if you think about VHS tapes, do you have I do have a VHS receiver, and my tapes. Yeah. But I'd have to dig it out of the attic and hook it back up. Like, it doesn't stay hooked up in my house.
Right. I don't even have the machine anymore that I could play them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a dual VCR that's like a DVD and a VHS. That. I know. But you think about that, and I think about my pictures, and I'm like, how am I ever going to, in 20 years, what am I going to do to be looking at these things? Am I going to have the right stuff?
Yeah.
Am I storing them today? How I'm going to need them in 30 years?
Yeah. One of my favorite stories about your dad, Steve Burns, loved to tell the story that he called him one night. Him and Karen were on the couch watching TV, and your dad called. Karen said, Dale's on the phone, and he said, Steve, I don't know which VHS player to buy. I don't want to get ripped off at the store. And Steve's like, you can get whatever one you want. Like, why are you worried about getting ripped off?
Dude, in your case, just pick the highest price one.
Right. Steve's like, you can afford any one you want. And Dale's like, no, I want the best one for the best price, and I don't want anyone ripping me off.
That's too funny.
So that's a good VHS story.
Oh, gosh. That is great. That's awesome. Okay, so you did TV at high school, and then when you were at UNCC, you did internship. That's kind of how you got in the TV world here?
Yes. In my senior year at UNC Charlotte, they had an internship program. So I started at Channel 3 downtown, WBTV, the CBS affiliate, and it just kind of grew from there. I just said, when I graduate school, they're going to hire me come hell or high water, and I'm not leaving until they do, because I loved it there, and it just made sense. My family lives here now, and so they did. They hired me as like the weekend news editor, so I was putting together all the fire and, arrest whatever the video was.
When was this? So how long are we talking ago?
2004.
2004. So we're talking 10 years, 11 years.
Yeah.
News is way different today than then, or not? What do you think?
No,
I hate watching the news.
I do too. And that's why I had to.
Isn't that bad?
It's so bad.
I just
think it's so depressing.
Yes, it's terrible.
I always said the news was too depressing, and I wasn't smart enough to do weather. So sports was like going to be it for me.
How smart do you have to do weather? They don't even. It's like a 50-50,
Well, that's true.
The weatherman sometimes right.
Maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. It might rain today, it might not. But I would go and see like all the computers they were using to like look at all these
the
models and like the science and the math, and I was like, that's not happening. That's not for me. And I had to get out of news because it was just so like I started having nightmares because I was putting together all this video all day. So I was absorbing it all subconsciously. Yeah. And just like every day I thought I was going to die. I was like, I'm going to get burned up, shot, run over. I was like,
because you're reporting on all those things, which, are not the large percentage of what happens, but that's all you're reporting.
But we show the small percentage we show the one bad accident a week.
Exactly.
So I was like, no. But I always knew I wanted to get into the sports office. And then once I did, I started shooting Mooresville, like high school football, and I'd come around to all the games on Friday nights. And so that's how I really got on air, my first on air. They said, all right, we'll let you report high school football. And then just kind of grew from there. And the weekend girl quit, and they hired me to take over. And then
how did you get introduced into the NASCAR world?
Yeah, I had an agent, and I signed a 3-year contract to be the weekend sports anchor there. And about 2 years in, I said, okay, I'm ready for more money, more exposure. I knew I wanted to get to a national network. So we sent out DVDs, not a YouTube channel, no link. And Speed was the first network to call. And I'm like, I'd watched them for years. I'd seen them on Speed Street and John Roberts, and never once in my life thought that I would work there.
Oh, NASCAR. Yeah. For Speed or just in NASCAR in general? Oh, NASCAR, the sport.
Both.
Yeah.
Never even, in local news, my boss would send me out with a camera, and I'd walk up and down pit road for the Charlotte races and film driver intros and pit stops and just get B-roll of guys. And I loved it. I really loved when the races were there twice a year. I don't know why I didn't connect the dots and say, well, Speed's here. And it wasn't something I cooked up by any means. It just, God put me in a place I was supposed to be without me even knowing that was the right step, which is kind of cool. I just kind of fell into it, but it's been, it was great.
So that was in 2010 that you joined them, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you were co-hosting by 212, so you...
Yeah, so I took the job because I'd always anchored in local news. So I did it ass backwards. You're supposed to start as a reporter, do what Carson's doing, get down and interview people and where the action happens, and then as you get older, that's why you see all the news anchors are all older. They don't throw young kids back there because I think you need to put your boots on the ground and figure it out. That just wasn't the opening for me. So I kind of said, all right, I need to learn that skill set because I'd never really done it. So Speed was offering a job as a race hub reporter. So I thought, well, it's a great way to learn the sport from a ground roots level. I can come into the shops, and I came and saw you. And, I would just kind of travel around to all the race shops and figure it out because I didn't know anything yet. And then, they said, well, that was fun, but we see you as a natural host. So go join Steve on the hub because I filled in for him when he was on vacation. Yeah. And Fox just said, we see your natural skill set as being a host and not a pit road. And I was never interested in being in the garage as a pit road reporter. I thought I'd get run over.
Who you were, all your
Burn
news
up.
were flashing back in.
Yeah, it's like bad flashbacks.
You didn't want to become a news story.
No, and I'm like, how do they look cute? And like all the heat, and they're either freezing or they're melting, and it's loud, and it was just too much for me. So it was like, okay, go into the studio. That was a natural fit for me. I was happy with that.
So when you came to Speed, and you said they were looking for the race hub reporter, so I mean, you went right into NASCAR for Speed.
Yeah, I cried in the bathroom like my whole first week at Speed. And that's no lie. Because I was so excited to take the job. But then I'm like, I'm covering it at such an intricate level every day. And I didn't know enough. I'm like, I dove straight into the deep end of the pool. And I was trying to keep my head above water. And I was having a really tough time. Because I'd go and interview drivers. I didn't know what to ask.
Yeah,
I didn't know where to
you're
start.
surrounded, too, with people that did. I mean,
right.
you get thrown in with
the Wendy Venturinis,
kind of came up in the sport. That really,
Ray Dunlap and Bob Dillner and all these Steve Burns, all these seasoned veterans. So then what I learned quickly to survive was to lean on them for support. So I would go to Steve before every interview, and he would literally say, if you're talking to Kelley Earnhardt, here are the questions that are relevant that you should ask.
Yeah.
And that's how you kind of learn it. You just have to chip away at it and try to earn the people's trust, because the new girl comes in, and Wendy's been around forever, and Bob and Ray, and they're like, who's the new girl? So you kind of have to earn people's respect. And so it took me 2 or 3 years before I really felt like I had a good baseline, and I was comfortable.
Yeah. And then, so you joined Steve as a co-host.
Yeah.
In that hosting role today, you are. And between, since then, you've hosted, I didn't realize, I just don't get to watch a lot of TV, but you've hosted a lot of different things. You host a lot of different things. I mean, I do recall the banquets and that kind of thing, and now doing the pre-race stuff. So how's your travel schedule with that?
Yeah, it's interesting now that Fox and NBC kind of split it down the middle. So I did want to start to get out on the road. I knew that was important for me to it was one of the last conversations Burnsy and I had this past year. I think the reason he was so well respected and had so much knowledge is because he was at the place where the sport happens.
Yeah.
You have to be at the racetrack at some point. I knew in the last year or so I was just locked in that studio, and I was only getting to know the people that came by the show. Mm-hmm. So I was missing a lot. And I told my bosses, for me to continue on this path, I need to be where the sport's happening. So they gave me the Xfinity pre-race show on Saturday, and then the Cup pre-race show on Fox Sports 1 Sunday. So it was my first kind of time on the road this year. I know that sounds crazy because everyone else around me has done it.
That's where you start, right?
Right. Yeah, I've done it for decades. So I'm getting lost in rental cars, trying to figure out the entrance to every track. Where's the garage? Where's the media? I was doing all that, and it's crazy because it's my 6th year, and I was learning all that.
In your 6th year?
Yeah, it was my first time in my 6th year. So everything I've done, it's always been asked backwards. I don't know why. But yeah, I liked it. I mean, it needed to happen. You know, I needed to be in the garage and making better relationships. And
no, I think you're definitely right about that. And even earning, there's relationships in that respect and everything that comes with it, seeing you there and being a part of that.
Yeah. And then the second half of the year, it's like all of a sudden I didn't know how it would be with Fox and NBC, but Daytona in July, just the light switch flips off. And they take over. It's like all of our stuff was shipped out, all their stuff is shipped in, and they're out there when we're not. So I took a lot of vacations this summer and just kind of enjoyed it. And
that's probably first too, huh?
Yeah, it was.
6th year, you're taking vacation.
Yeah.
So what's your prep and week like? What's a typical week for you?
Right now, it's not bad.
Pretty easy.
During the Fox part of the season, we have Race Hub every week, Monday through Thursday. So, and Adam Alexander was doing the Xfinity Cup or the Xfinity races. So he and I would never be there on Thursdays. That was kind of our travel day. So we'd host Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. John Roberts would take over Thursday. Friday, you're in meetings, prepping in the garage, getting notes, getting ready for the show. Saturday was the Xfinity race. Come home from the Xfinity race, get back to the hotel. We had a conference call for the race day show Sunday. Kind of get your final rundown, all your notes ready, study up. And then you're up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, getting to the racetrack Sunday, doing the Cup show, watching the race, and then getting on the concierge flight, coming home Sunday night, getting home midnight, 1, depending on where the race was. And then you're back at Race Hub at 10 o'clock the next morning. So it was 6 days a week from February to June.
So Race Hub for you is in the day you do your stuff for that, whatever that might be.
Yeah. So
if you're doing features or anything in the studio.
We have every day at 10 o'clock is when our day starts, Monday through Thursday. And now that's all I'm doing. So, but even during the year, every morning we have a production staff of about 40, 50 people. So we have a 10 o'clock meeting in a big conference room. The producer gives you your rundown. Here's what we're doing on the show. We all kind of debate, discuss what we want to change, do different, what features, what guests are coming in. And then that's usually over around 11 o'clock. And then everyone kind of goes to lunch. The staff starts working on pieces. Adam and I will kind of get together sometime in the afternoon. If, like yesterday, we had to share a Rick Hendrick, Chase Elliott interview. So where do you want to go? Where do I want to go? We kind of figure out the ebb and flow. What video pieces do we want? We request those if we have something we want to really pinpoint or discuss.
So let's take that piece, because we were supposed to record yesterday, and this came up. And
yes.
So this came up, and I assume it's just a PR from the HMS side is working, and then it all works out, and you get told that you're going to be doing this piece on Monday with Chase and Mr. H. Do you guys get involved in what that looks like in terms of the interview? And like you said, just talking about that, or what role the producers have versus you?
Yeah, I think it's a real team effort, which is kind of the environment that I want to be a part of. I don't want someone handing me a piece of paper and just dictating this is what we're doing. And the director, the producer, and me and Adam kind of sit and talk. And we knew that Mr. H was bringing the car. So based on where that is in the studio, who we want, if we didn't know if Rick would want to unveil the car, if Chase wanted to. So we kind of said, well, does Adam want to do it? We were kind of saying, okay, well, where are we all going to be situated? Where do we want to sit? I'm like, okay, my best angle's on the left. No, I'm just kidding.
And these shoes are really going to show up.
Yeah, I want my shoes to be showed off. And then you just start digging into like content. Yeah. Once we kind of say, okay, then we'll have them walk over, we'll sit them back down. And where do you want to go first? Make sure you're not asking too many to Rick and you're ignoring Chase. So you kind of want to make sure there's crosstalk and banter. Do we have all our bases covered? If there's anything, like I wanted to make sure I had the right number of championships Rick won. So then it's a lot of texting.
Which when you're counting that many, that's a good thing to make sure you got right.
I'm like, so I text my stat. We have a stat guy that NBC and Fox both use. He's great. And so I'm like, this is an important one, so don't get it wrong. How many championships does Rick have? He's like, 11 and 14 owner championships, but 11 driver championships. Don't mess it up. And I said, okay, I'll get
that word in there, driver.
Yeah, I'll get it right. So and then you write from. I have a computer at my desk that links to the prompter in the studio. So that's where I write all my scripts. Like I can watch all the video elements in my office and just kind of see all the pieces coming in, the highlights, the features, and then I'll kind of write everything. And the producers will write like bumps to break, and I'll tweak those. But I like to do a lot of my own writing, so that takes about 2 hours. Because you're reading articles and J-Ski and Twitter, and you're constantly trying to make sure we're not missing anything and keeping up with the news cycle. And then, so that's from about 11 to 2, and then 2 to 3, and then 2 to 5, I'm in hair and makeup. So
2 to 5 takes you to do your hair and makeup?
Well, we're really in there. It takes 2 hours, so really 3 to 5. They want me in there at 2, and I'm like, I'll be okay if I'm in there at 3. I kind of fudge it. So, so from 3 to 5, they wash your hair, and they dry it, and they curl it, and they put your makeup on, and they pick out your outfit, and make sure it all matches with Adam's and Larry's. And
so does someone pick out everybody's outfit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's all coordinated.
I pick first. Okay. Which pisses Larry off. Like, he thinks that I should pick out my outfit based on what he wants to wear.
Oh, he's the veteran. He's the seasoned veteran.
Yeah, but I tell him I'm the queen.
He doesn't know how hard it is for us girls to get it all together.
That's right.
Easy for them.
What
color suit you want? Blue, gray, or black?
Right. I get so mad because they're ready in like 5 minutes. Like, they sit in the chair, they put a little powder on, they brush their hair, they get dressed, and I'm like, damn it. Like, my head's still in a bowl, like, full of shampoo. It's not fair. So I pick out what I want, and I ask the girls there, I'm like, is this okay? And they're like, yeah, that's fine, or I don't like that, or, whatever. And then once we have the look, they'll bring it into the wardrobe room, and then they'll kind of, like, ask the boys, is this okay? And Adam has, like, a really great sense of fashion. Like, he has his own style. He doesn't really want me to kind of dictate. Like, he plays along.
Yeah.
But, like, yesterday I was wearing red. I wanted to wear red. And he was like, I want to wear navy blue. Like, I'm wearing my navy blue pinstripe suit. And I'm like, okay. And the girl just kind of worked around and made everything else work. And luckily Rick and Chase were wearing, like, blue and black, and it all kind of meshed well. But Yeah, there's like a whole science behind it.
So then what do they do with the clothes that you wear?
They're on racks.
Okay. And so you do
my
rewear
office.
things?
Yeah. I try to rewear things.
Okay.
If it's a really bold print, it's tough because it's kind of memorable. And right now they're sending me, all our clothes come from LA. They have stylists at the Fox Studios in Los Angeles. So they'll ship stuff per season. And in fall, like my bosses are all in Charlotte, they're all like laughing at me. They're like, why are you wearing so many flowers? Every day you're showing up in flowers. I'm like, I don't know. They just sent me 50 dresses and like 30 of them have, I guess floral is like in for the fall.
I was going to say, surely they, keep in mind our cycles are different here in North Carolina than
LA.
LA.
Some of them are like so bright and summery, and I'm like, can I get away with this in October in Charlotte? But yeah, so right now I'm wearing a lot of flowers. So the boys have asked me to, like, Larry
lay
said
off
on the
flowers.
He's like, on the air the other night, he's like, I feel like I need to water you. And I was like, okay, now I know I'm wearing too much. So I'm trying to dial it back. But I can recycle a black dress a lot for years.
Yeah.
Because I just change up a shoe and a necklace or whatever, and you like really can't tell. But something bright yellow with a bunch of pink flowers or something.
Yeah.
And I need to figure out something to do with all of them because they just sit there for like stuff I wore 5 years ago is still sitting on a rack. And
oh gosh,
I think about Dress for Success or like
Yeah.
some other women, locally that could benefit from using a lot of that. So in the off season, that's one of my projects is to kind of figure out what I can do with some of the
something. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good thought process.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about shoes, and you said when we were small talking before we got on air here, you said you're not a shoe girl.
I know.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I've ever met a girl that's not a shoe girl.
I know. I don't feel normal now. I don't. I love
from New York City.
I know.
I mean, come on.
Are you a shoe girl?
I love shoes. Yes.
I love those shoes.
I love shoes. But see, now I'm a very traditional. I don't like to be showy.
Right.
So wearing these is hard for me because I put them on and I'm like, oh, this is just too crazy. But I just talk myself into it. And eventually I get there. But because
I love those.
I mean, I am a shoe girl, but I'm very traditional.
Yeah, I am
could
too.
just have heels and nothing funky about them.
I don't like that either.
I have like maybe 20% funk in my closet.
Yeah.
The rest is like 80% traditional.
Yeah, I just bought one of those little, my hairstylist, he calls them shabooties because it's not a shoe and it's not a boot. It's a booty.
Open toe.
Yeah, and so I got one but it has all the, because everything's fringe now. And I was like, I'm not a trendy girl. I'm a classic.
Yeah.
So I did with some, and I still haven't had the guts to break them out yet. Eventually I will wear them probably like once, but I'm like you, like just a.
I love to see it though, like the dress and the booties. I think it is so cute, but then I put it on and I'm like, this is just chopping me off, I don't feel like my feet are extending.
Yeah.
Like, where's my feet?
Right. Because you and I are like the same height and the same build. So I like that. Like I don't really like to wear flats because I feel real kind of stumpy, and I see Samantha Bush on Instagram and I'm like, God,
she looks great and everything.
She pulls it all off. Like I can't. I play it a little more safe.
I love her blog, and I had her on the show this year too, and I subscribe to her blog and get it every week now. But I think to myself, Samantha, you're one of very few people that can pull this off.
Right.
Yeah, like the cute crop tops. And all this stuff. I'm like,
she does the crop top with the skirt and the pump, and she's all over it.
Rocking it.
She is all over it,
and could just wear it anywhere.
I know.
I could only wear that a certain place.
Right. I know. She makes it look so good. And hasn't the fashion for you, like just on pit road your whole life,
so changed?
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Like even when I came in, Delana was wearing the fire suit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, isn't that funny? Even in the last 10 years, how much it's drastically different.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You have your ones that just really want to dress up and are showy, and then you kind of have your casual and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's very different. I was going to ask you about packing for the road. So any tricks to that, or any go-tos?
The one I learned from Krista a few years ago, because my curling iron, that's the last thing, like I'm always
goes in. Yep.
Yeah, and so it's always hot, and I'm like, I'm gonna catch my bag on fire, it's gonna burn my rental car up, like what's gonna happen? You can tell I like have a fear of fire. It's come up several times in the interview. So I got on Amazon Prime and ordered 2 of those
thermal cover
covers. Yeah, and so those were lifesavers because it's one of the last things you throw in your bag before you leave the racetrack. Yeah. So that was life-saving. And then a jewelry organizer, because you always have to have the earrings or a necklace or like whatever. And so it would always get tangled and broken, and I would get so mad. So I had to find it. It took me like 3 different ones before I found one.
The one that worked.
Yeah, it was like a soft case, and you'd open it, and there were different zipper pockets and layers to keep everything organized, but I always overpack. And
you still overpack?
I have the.
Well, this is just your first year. You're just still learning.
I'm learning. I know, and it was so embarrassing.
I think you should be a veteran at this packing, but you're not.
No, I'm learning as I go. I'd get off concierge, and I was so embarrassed because all the team guys have their OGO overnight bag, and then here comes the girl that looks like she's going to Europe for 3 weeks, this massive suitcase, and my boyfriend was always so embarrassed. He's like, "Oh my God, just get it in the car." So I'm gonna try better, but even in Daytona, it was so cold this year.
Yeah, and you never know what to have.
And we were down there for 2 straight weeks, so I was like, I'm just gonna throw everything in there because you never know. You always have to have your rain boots, your rain gear. A lot of the guys keep theirs on the hauler. We have a hauler with Fox, but I wasn't sure. Next year, I'll know. Ship a lot of stuff out that can just stay on the rig all the first
time.
Yeah. Instead of packing all that stuff, because half of it was just stuff that you needed in case it rained,
right?
And then most of the time,
I don't need that.
Right.
So you are going to be a sideline reporter on Fox NFL. That's pretty cool.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
This is going to be neat. My first game's in 2 weeks. So for the last few months when I'm not doing the NASCAR stuff, I'm studying up on the NFL, and I'm super excited.
So do you have some anxiousness about that kind of the NASCAR thing going into it?
Oh my gosh. You're going to need to give me oxygen that Sunday. I'm going to be so, I get that. I get super nervous and psych myself out before the first time I do anything. Then after I do it once, I'm fine.
Very much the same here.
Okay.
Yep, that was easy.
I can do it. And then why did I get so worked up about it? So a few weeks ago, Fox was nice enough to let me sideline Jen Hale. She's a longtime NFL sideline reporter. So I went to a Panthers game and followed her. And learned a ton. The big thing is, instead of looking at the field, you're looking at this. That's why you're the sideline reporter. You're the eyes and the ears on the sideline. So she's like, look, Jonathan Stewart has a heating pad in his left ankle. Find out if he's going to return. Or someone else was getting their back worked on. You have to tell the story that nobody else is seeing. Right. You're the only one down there doing that. And then just the way they coordinate, meet the coach, run a slant, meet the coach on the 20-yard line, run into the tunnel as the half ends, and you talk to him, then you sprint through the other tunnel, you get the other coach coming back out on the return of the half, you ask him 3 or 4 questions, you find your camera guy, 30 seconds back, you gather your thoughts, welcome back, coach says this coming into the second half, the other coach says this, all right, Chris, back up to you. Boom.
Bam.
I was like, holy moly. People don't realize how tough it is.
So I'm watching this. When is this? 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Who is it going to be? Which
Arizona
game?
at Cleveland.
Arizona at Cleveland.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it'll probably be a little bit chilly, but I'll be staying warm. I'll be hustling.
And
nervous.
So, what's your schedule for that? I mean, several games, many games, all games?
Yeah, I think we're going to try to figure it out after we do the first one. If I totally implode or get hit by a ball and suffer severe injury, I may never come back.
That'll be one hell of a news story. This is where it's all going. We're going back to the news.
I know.
We don't want to be in the news, but we keep thinking that we're going to be the news.
I know, right?
Did you know mine and Dale's house burned down? So I have this thing about fire too.
You do?
I was in the 3rd grade and Dale was in the 1st grade. And we lived with our mom and we're woken up at 6 a.m. in the morning. Our house was on fire.
Oh my gosh.
And so, very traumatic. So I have this fear about fire, in my house, just, is this house wired right? Is electricity right? That kind of thing. Is that touching that? Is that going to make that catch on fire? That kind of thing. But I'm also sort of if I'm riding in a boat, I can't, motorhomes, staying in motorhomes, I have to really talk to myself for staying in a motorhome.
Really?
Yeah, because it's this whole travel thing wired up, and You're
always afraid, did you put the gas right? I'm freaked out.
Oh, I get way too worried. The person that did this wiring, what were they doing the day of,
Yeah.
We were just at Cessna's plant in Kansas and in Wichita, and so we saw all the planes undone, and the first thought in my mind, all these people working, I see all these workers, and so I turned to the guy and I'm like, so what's y'all's hiring process? How do you make sure that you're getting mentally stable people? Because think about that,
Yeah.
Guy comes in, had a fight with his wife last night, ain't feeling good, he misses the one wire that's really important.
Right, not paying attention.
Plane goes off the line, 6 months later, this guy's bad night. Just gonna come back to haunt somebody.
I know.
And I'm like, what is, what's the process? And he was explaining how rigorous, and they put them through this training, and they watch their personalities, and they watch for these different things. But I mean, they're human beings,
Right.
They're gonna have an off day.
Right.
How bad of an off day are they gonna have? is the question.
I know.
So I think about stuff like that.
I do too. I don't leave the house with the dryer
crazy.
going.
Yep.
I even when I walked in here, I'm like, did I unplug my curling iron? Was my dog gonna be like dead and my house gonna be burned down when I get back? I think about that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Oh, we have some phobias. Yeah. Fire phobia.
Fire phobia.
All right. So you keep mentioning the boyfriend. The boyfriend is in racing.
Yes.
Yes.
Robbie Benton.
Yep. And so how does that work out that the two of you are sharing the same space? And it's probably good, I guess.
Yeah. I think
they have somebody to relate to.
Yeah. I think it's been great. He was a fan of the show, and we had his drivers on, and never really thought who the owner of RAB was. I just, we had Alex Bowman on, James Busher, but it was a smaller team that we just didn't cover a lot. And I think, I was telling you earlier, I was just trying to understand, like, the broad picture in the big teams. I wasn't there yet. Like, I wasn't worried about,
anybody else.
No, I wasn't worried about the smaller
like 4
teams.
or 5 bases.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep my head above water with the big teams. So Larry McReynolds needed a show car for the Summer TNT Summer Series. When they have the races, they wanted a cutaway car or whatever. So he asked Robbie if he could borrow a cup car, and Robbie's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So they used it for the Summer Series, and Larry brought it back and said, what do I owe you? And Robbie's like, you don't owe me anything. Don't worry about it. And Larry's like, well, if I can ever do anything for you. And he's like, well, if you could get me Danielle Trotta's phone number, that would be great.
I'm thinking, if you can get me on a date.
Right. So Larry's like, okay. So he peeked his head into my office that Monday and
one
said,
of the easier things. No?
Yeah. No, I was like, well, I'd never dated anybody in racing. Like, I had Humpy Wheeler's daughter, Patty Wheeler.
Yeah.
She was like my mentor because she was running speed at the time I came in, and she was like, keep your nose out of the garage. I don't want to see you near them. Like, and that's a big thing for us. They don't want our girl reporters kind of, eating where they.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd never really done it and never really looked. I just kind of kept my nose clean. And so I was like, well, who the hell is he? Larry's like, you don't know who I'm talking about? I'm like, no. So I looked him up on Twitter, and I was like, he's not that ugly. I was like, I can go on a date with him. So yeah, it's been a year and a half, but it's great. He was running Xfinity at the time, and so yeah, it was nice to be able to travel this year together. I'm not sure I would have enjoyed the experience as much because you're spending so much time away from home. At some point, you kind of have to bring the family with you, or you don't know how it's going to work.
Exactly.
So it's kind of finding that balance. And there'll be parts and pieces we need for the show all the time. When Chad Knaus and Jimmy broke that axle seal at Dover, I called him Monday. I was like, I need an axle seal. He's like, all right, come up to the shop. So it's been great. And he teaches me a lot. Yeah. And he's super supportive. He surprised me the other day, and he's like, I'm flying to Cleveland for your game. This is the biggest thing that's happened in your career, and I'm not going to miss it. So we cool. support each other. Yeah. It's a nice, you have to have that balance.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, growing up in the sport, people said the same thing. Don't be dabbling in racing. Right. Don't date anybody in the sport, But I think at the same time, you have to have that commonality because the sport is so unique.
That's right.
Well, all sports have their uniqueness, but this life and this travel different. And, traveling so much, which I don't have to do these days, but, it's, you got to just have somebody that kind of knows it, and can get what you're feeling and thinking and saying and understand, and it's not foreign to them.
I agree. And eventually, if you're around this long enough, it's going to get you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to find it's going to happen. Because that's the world you live in. So if you guys spend enough time together, it just... Yeah. I think it naturally just...
Yeah.
So I didn't know you weren't traveling anymore.
I don't travel too much. 6 races or so a year.
Really?
Yeah. So,
good for you.
Yeah. Just the kids. Wyatt's 3.5. Kennedy's going to be 10 next week.
Oh, my gosh.
Carson's 15 and driving and playing volleyball and racing and all this kind of stuff.
You need to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she, got the... experience of the travel here working on the show for NASCAR Nickelodeon.
I cannot wait to see it.
So this week is, I think, episode number 4 of 8. It's flying by. But the preparation for that. So she traveled to 3 tracks, 5 a.m. wake-ups, hair, makeup, like you said, and just going through all that and working till 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon, in the lunch break. So she had a ball with this.
She did.
John Morris worked on that with her.
Yeah. Love John.
She just, the whole team. She really had a ball
John
with.
produces Race Hub.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah, so we have he's my favorite. Yeah. When I found out he was working on it, I knew she'd be in really good hands because he's a dad.
And she didn't want me to go.
See?
Yeah. So I didn't travel with her. And that's okay. I felt like she could just really be her and not have to worry about mom, throwing in, well, you shouldn't say that or you shouldn't do that or whatever. She could just be. So I had one of our girls that work here and that she's real close with, travel with her.
Has she enjoyed the experience?
Yeah, she has. Good. She understands how much work it is. So it's not now it's not all about being on TV, which, she's 15. She's figuring it out and understands all the background and everything that goes into it. So.
That's great. Because a few years ago, remember we would do Carson on the grid.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And she loved that.
Oh, my God. She was a natural.
Yeah, she loved that.
You always said, like, she's going to be a star at something. I got to figure out. We're going to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
That's
she's going to do something. So she's enjoying it. We'll see what happens.
She's going to take my job one day.
Well, you want to retire, don't you?
Eventually.
Right? Eventually. We'll get you through that 20.
Yeah, exactly.
So. All right. Well, this has been fun.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
It's time now for our tip of the week, brought to you by Wella Professionals. Today, we will learn how to complete loose waves. All right. So we're going to apply the IME thermal image for heat protection from section to section. Then you take a diagonal section and create curls with the styling iron starting from the mid-length. Don't curl the roots. Then you're going to curl the front sections towards the back, away from your face, and when a curl is done, twist it and allow it to cool. Leave some ends straight. This will help create more roughness to the look. Run your fingers through the hair to kind of separate the curls, and then you're going to apply the IME Sugar Lift for shine, texture, and curl definition. I'm going to have to give this a good try because I do like trying to curl my hair, but I could add a couple of these tips in, I think, and get it a little bit better. All right, you can purchase these, and I'm talking about this with Davis, like he's like, what hair? You got a couple curls going on there
I
too.
do a little bit.
We might could do a JR 360 with you on this. All right. Davis's loose waves.
Don't give Mike any ideas.
Yeah, right. All right, you can purchase these or any Wella Professionals product at any of the 782 Ulta stores nationwide or purchase online at Ulta.com. All right, hope you've enjoyed this episode of Fast Lane Family, and always, we will be back next week.
Fastlane Family has been brought to you by Wella Professional Hair Care, multi-sensorial hair care products that you will see, touch, and sense the difference from your very first wash. Hair care needs from fine to normal to color to coarse, Wella's got you covered. Wella Professional Hair Care products are available at over 780 Ulta stores nationwide. Visit Ulta.com to find the store nearest you.
Thanks for listening to Dirty Mo Radio.